On the eve of the typhoon, I waited downstairs of the company for 2 hours, but my wife never came to pick me up. When I was about to take a taxi, I saw the message she sent a few minutes ago. I have something urgent to do. I won't pick you up. However, I saw her in her male assistant's circle of friends. Luckily my boss sent me home, otherwise I would have to spend the night at the company. The accompanying picture is a familiar dashboard and the wife's beautiful legs wearing flesh-colored stockings. I smiled to myself, silently gave a thumbs up, and commented, "I really envy you for having a good boss." After I left with my luggage, my wife panicked and mobilized all her energy to find me. I can correct anything I did wrong. Please don't leave me. 1. As the end of the get-off-work day approached, heavy rain hit without warning. Seeing my colleagues leaving one by one, I began to think about taking a taxi. As soon as I took out my cell phone, I saw the message from my wife Lu Jingxian. "It's raining heavily. Wait for me at the company and I'll pick you up." Yeah, okay. I know that Lu Jingxian is asking for peace. Last week was Lu Jingxian's birthday. I took a day off and booked a restaurant to celebrate for her. However, I waited until the restaurant closed, but Lu Jingxian still didn't show up. On the way home in a taxi, I was browsing my moments to pass the time, but unexpectedly I saw the moments updated by her assistant Fu Bowen. The boss treated us to a party. It was such a happy day. The photo was a group photo of Lu Jingxian's employees, but he and Lu Jingxian looked particularly close. It was already 1 o'clock in the morning when Lu Jingxian got home. I walked up to her with the photo and questioned her. "Today is your birthday. Didn't we agree to have dinner together?" "Shen Wenhao, stop being so unreasonable. Can't we celebrate birthdays any other time? I am not only your wife, but also the boss of a company. Is there any problem if I treat the employees to a party? If you want to do so many fancy things, why not rest early?" Lu Jingxian didn't even look at the photo in my hand and walked past me impatiently. I was stunned and silently deleted the saved photos. If she doesn't care about her birthday, why should I worry about it? From that night till now, we have been in a cold war for a week. In the past, I would always try to reconcile with her after a cold war. Now, Lu Jingxian took the initiative to make peace, but I felt nothing in my heart and just responded with a simple, "Okay." The rain was getting heavier and heavier, even splashing when it hit the ground. However, even though my trouser legs were wet by the splashing rain, I still couldn't wait for Lu Jingxian. I was disappointed and took out my cell phone to call a taxi. While waiting for the bus, I saw Fu Bowen's updated circle of friends. Luckily my boss sent me home, otherwise I would have been soaked to the skin. There is also a photo attached below the text, which shows a familiar dashboard. There is a doll on the dashboard. It was the doll that Lu Jingxian and I caught when we first met. When I first wanted to put the doll in the car, Lu Jingxian was very disgusted. "This thing doesn't look good at all, and it poses a safety hazard if placed in the car." After my repeated requests, Lu Jingxian reluctantly allowed the existence of the doll. Thinking of this, I felt relieved and liked and commented on this update. It's really enviable to have such a good boss. I know Lu Jingxian broke her promise again. Didi showed that there were dozens of people waiting before me. I looked down at my wet trouser legs, decisively cancelled the order, and walked into the heavy rain with an umbrella. 2. When I got home, Lu Jingxian hadn't come back yet. Although I took a shower and changed into dry clothes as soon as I got home, I still felt a little uncomfortable. Just as I fell asleep, I was woken up by some rustling noise. Lu Jingxian is back. Perhaps she didn't expect that I would rest before waiting for her, so she walked into the room and stood in front of the bed. I could feel a pair of eyes on me, but my head was dizzy and I ignored her. After standing for a while, Lu Jingxian left the room and I fell asleep again. When I woke up the next day, I felt so dizzy that I didn't even notice the alarm clock ringing next to me. It wasn't until I heard Lu Jingxian's impatient smacking of lips that I was completely awakened. "I have a fever, but I have an important meeting to chair today. After weighing the pros and cons, I have to drag my tired body out." After arriving at the company, my colleague sitting next to me noticed that I was not feeling well and kindly brought me some antipyretic medicine. Just as I finished drinking the medicine, Shen Wenhao's message popped up. "Shen Wenhao, are you angry? What should I be angry about? But you didn't prepare breakfast for me today. Aren't you angry? No, I was in a hurry to go out today and forgot. Since getting married, it has become my habit to make breakfast before going out every day, even though Lu Jingxian has never eaten it once, and even during our Cold War, this habit has never been an exception. But I was in a hurry when I went out today, so I forgot to make breakfast. However, when I heard Lu Jingxian's tone as if she was ordering a nanny around, I still felt a little uncomfortable. I turned off my phone and walked into the meeting room. The meeting was very tedious and didn't end until almost the end of the working day. As soon as I turned on my phone, I saw the message from Lu Jingxian. Are you almost off work? I'll pick you up tonight. Okay, I'll wait for you downstairs in the company. However, after get off work, I stood downstairs of the company for a full half hour, enduring the dizziness, but Lu Jingxian still did not show up. Just when I was about to go home by myself, Lu Jingxian called. Wenhao, are you off work? Well, I was at the entrance of the company and didn't see you. I heard the sound of fingers tapping the dashboard from my phone. Lu Jingxian always did this to adjust her mood when she was impatient. Perhaps she wanted to make up for standing me up yesterday, so she rarely exploded. Wenhao, did your company change its exit? I was right in front of your company, but I didn't see you. You're in the Fugaku building. My hand holding the phone clenched unconsciously. Lu Jingxian on the other side seemed to be venting her dissatisfaction, and even her voice tone rose a few degrees. Of course. After all, I am your wife. How could I not know where you work? Hearing her confident answer, I couldn't help but lower my eyes. The Fugaku building was indeed where I worked before, but the company moved half a year ago. I even remember that when I just changed my address, I sent it to Lu Jingxian. What I didn't expect was that she still went to the wrong place today. I'd better go back by myself. This is a one-way street. It will be very troublesome if you come over. Lu Jingxian on the phone was silent for a long time, and then the call was hung up. When she got home, Lu Jingxian sat on the sofa, staring at the door. Arrived home earlier than me. After getting married, I am always the first one to arrive home. But even when the meal I carefully prepared for her had gone cold, Lu Jingxian still hadn't come home. At that time, I would always complain to her, asking why she didn't tell me that she was late for coming home. She always glanced at me coldly and then chose to ignore me. Can't you eat when I'm not at home? Or do you want me to give up my job and stay around you every day? But I've been waiting for you for a long time, and the food is all cold. Why not just throw it away when it's cold? Do you really have to bother me so much over such a small matter? Since then, I never mentioned it again and just quietly put her portion of the meal in the insulated box. I never dreamed that someone would arrive home earlier than me. What was even more unexpected to me was that Lu Jingxian actually came forward to greet me. 3. Lu Jingxian stood beside me with her head down, like a child who had done something wrong. I'm sorry, Wenhao. I've been so busy lately that I ran to the wrong place. It's okay. I understand that you are busy with work. Yesterday, the company's employees signed a big contract, and they suddenly decided to have a party, so they forgot that you were waiting for me. Yeah, I know. You don't have to explain it. Listening to Lu Jingxian's explanation, I just responded perfunctorily. If it were in the past, I would be extremely happy if Lu Jingxian could patiently explain things to me like this. But now I feel nothing in my heart, and even feel a little annoyed with her. Wenhao, you are angry. No, what should I be angry about? I've already explained it to you, why are you still acting so nonchalant? You didn't make breakfast this morning, and now you're pretending to be indifferent. If this isn't anger, what is it? At this moment, I actually felt that Lu Jingxian was a little unreasonable. This is not the first time such a scene has happened since we got married. In the past, whenever this happened, Lu Jingxian would always stand by and look at me coldly without saying a word, as if she was watching a clown show. Now that I think about it, she must have disliked me for being like that. No wonder she always stayed out until very late before coming home. But I clearly wasn't feeling angry at the moment, so why was she panicking? I followed Lu Jingxian's example and walked right past her. If you have nothing else to do, I'm going to take a shower first. It just so happens that I haven't showered yet, so why don't we shower together tonight? Goodbye, I'm not feeling well. I need to rest after I finish my shower. I broke free from Lu Jingxian's hand and walked straight into the bathroom. Just as I closed the door, I heard the sound of the door closing. Lu Jingxian went out again. Is this a new round of the Cold War? I shook my head, turned on the shower and let the warm water wash over me. Every time a Cold War broke out in the past, I would worry about the gains and losses and try my best to think of ways to end it. Sometimes I would pretend to have sent a wrong message and withdraw it immediately, or I would find a text to post on WeChat Moments. But Lu Jingxian never wondered what I had withdrawn, nor would she check my circle of friends. At that time, my mind was completely on her, so much so that I was often distracted from work. But now, not only do I not have that feeling of worry and fear, but I feel that my whole body and mind are inexplicably relaxed. Especially at night, I really want to have a good sleep, but Lu Jingxian always wakes me up when she comes home late. Now that she has moved to the guest bedroom, I am sleeping surprisingly well. I don't even have to spend time cooking for her. After all, she wouldn't eat it even if I did. Since getting married, most of my energy has been focused on Lu Jingxian, so that the time and space left for myself has been shrinking. The most common thing I do every day is to send messages to Lu Jingxian, asking her if she has eaten, if she has encountered any interesting things, and sharing my daily life with her every day without getting tired of it. Although she rarely replies, and even if she does, it's just a simple perfunctory reply, I still enjoy it. At that time, I seldom worked overtime. I just wanted to go home quickly to cook for her so that she could have a hot meal when she got home. But Lu Jingxian is always busy, either with work or socializing, and sometimes she doesn't even go home for a week. Now that I have decided not to make him the center of my life, I didn't expect that I would feel so much more relaxed all of a sudden. Lu Jingxian hasn't been home for several days, so I took out my phone and skillfully clicked into Fu Bowen's circle of friends. As I expected, they stayed together all the time when Lu Jingxian was not at home. This time, Lu Jingxian took Fu Bowen on a business trip. They ate together and accompanied clients together. Lu Jingxian was smiling happily in the photo. At least she didn't smile when she was with me. If it were in the past, I would have called Lu Jingxian like crazy if I saw her getting so close to another man. Every time facing my questioning, she always acted innocent and could always find countless excuses. After a long time, Lu Jingxian was too lazy to explain and just slammed the door and left. But now when I see their photos again, I don't feel any disgust in my heart, and I even like these updates one by one. Because the last meeting I chaired was very successful, the company is interested in promoting me, but the new position is in another city. At first I was a little hesitant about whether to accept it, but now, I have made up my mind to stay away from Shenwenhao. When I got home from get off work, I actually saw Lu Jingxian at the company gate. 4. I subconsciously wanted to avoid her, but Lu Jingxian seemed to have guessed my thoughts and stepped forward to stop me. Wenhao, I just happened to be doing something nearby today, so I thought of coming to pick you up. Good. I nodded and didn't look at Lu Jingxian any further. I opened the passenger door and saw Fu Bowen sitting inside. Brother Wenhao, long time no see. I came out with Sister Jingxian to discuss business, and she dropped me off on the way home. You shouldn't mind, right? You are just discussing business, what can I mind? I smiled at Fu Bowen, then opened the back door and sat in. Lu Jingxian, who was the last to get on the bus, felt that the atmosphere was a little strange. She turned back to explain to me hesitantly. Bowen is a little carsick, so I let him sit in the front. Isn't it normal to get carsick? You don't have to explain it to me. I looked at Lu Jingxian calmly, and he withdrew his gaze guiltily. I think he must be very surprised now. Although I don't often ride in her car, I must sit in the passenger seat every time I ride. I used to be proud to sit in the passenger seat of Lu Jingxian. At that time, she was always very impatient and we even had a fight about it. But she didn't know that I just wanted to sit next to her, that's all. But now, no matter who is sitting in her passenger seat, what does it have to do with me? Fu Bowen, who was sitting next to Lu Jingxian, naturally started talking to her about company matters. I didn't understand and didn't want to listen, let alone get involved, so I just closed my eyes and rested. However, even if I didn't want to get involved, Fu Bowen obviously had no intention of letting me go. Brother Wenhao, why didn't you go to Sister Jingxian's birthday party at the company some time ago? I didn't know she was having a birthday party. I was so busy that day that I didn't even remember it was her birthday. I opened my eyes and glanced at Lu Jingxian through the rearview mirror. She looked a little unnatural at this moment, and her eyes were wandering. To refute me, I pretended to be surprised. But Brother Wenhao, haven't you been married for many years? Is it because you have been together for too long that it is easy to ignore it? Bo1, stop talking. You guys are distracting me by chatting here. Lu Jingxian quickly spoke up to stop Fu Bowen from continuing, obviously feeling guilty. Fu Bowen also realized that he had said the wrong thing, so he shrank his head and stopped talking to me. I smiled and closed my eyes again. Fu Bowen thought I forgot Lu Jingxian's birthday, but what she didn't know was that no matter whether it was a birthday or a wedding anniversary, as long as it was related to Lu Jingxian, I remembered it clearly. The car drove home quickly, and I put my things away and went into the kitchen to cook noodles. When Lu Jingxian saw me coming out with only a bowl of noodles, her expression was a little stiff. Wenhao, did you only cook one portion? What about mine? Didn't you eat while you were doing the work just now? Are you not full? I looked at Lu Jingxian in a puzzled manner, and she actually shrank her head in a weak manner. I didn't care about it and just sat down to eat noodles. She stood up awkwardly and sat opposite me, looking as if she wanted to say something but hesitated. If it were in the past, I would definitely not be able to help but take the initiative to ask her about her well-being, but now I just want to finish my dinner in peace. Seeing that I had no intention of paying attention to her, Lu Jingxian gritted her teeth and spoke first. Actually, I remember you were waiting for me that day, but it happened that an employee had a big order, and it happened to be my birthday. They started to make a fuss and decided to go out for dinner, but they got so busy that they forgot to inform you. This kind of thing has passed. Let's not mention it now. I don't really care about it. I could see the surprise that flashed across Lu Jingxian's face, because this was exactly her catchphrase. I remember the last time I asked her what her relationship with Fu Bowen was, maybe Lu Jingxian was annoyed by my pestering and started yelling at me. Bowen is just my assistant. It's just a small matter. Why do you keep bringing it up? Shen Wenhao, are you done yet? Do you know that you are very annoying now? Since then, our longest Cold War began. Pulling my thoughts back to reality, I finished the noodles in no time. While Lu Jingxian had no intention of leaving, I took out the divorce agreement that had been drafted by a lawyer in advance and placed it in front of him. Lu Jingxian just glanced at the title and couldn't help but sneer. Shen Wenhao, what do you mean by this? Are you going to divorce me again? You're not a child anymore. Do you think it's fun to keep playing tricks like this on me? Lu Jingxian didn't even read the contents and just swept the divorce agreement to the ground. I looked at her, squatted down, picked up the agreement, and handed it to her again. This time, I'm serious. 5. Lu Jingxian's face darkened visibly. She stood up and slapped the divorce agreement hard. Shen Wenhao, do you find it fun to keep doing this? Can't you just tell me what you want? Or do you think I'm free to mess around with you? I looked at her calmly and said nothing. I knew that as soon as I opened my mouth, it would turn into a heated argument. Lu Jingxian glanced at me coldly and slammed the door and left. I don't care where she goes or what she does. After putting the divorce agreement in her office study, I started looking at properties available at my new job. Lu Jingxian didn't go home until I turned off the lights and went to rest, and I was happy that no one disturbed me. The next day when I got off work, I saw Lu Jingxian again at the company gate. Although I had some doubts, I didn't refuse. Seeing me skillfully open the back door and get in, Lu Jingxian's expression became strange. Wenhao, you, sit in the back seat. You're the one driving anyway, so what difference does it make where I sit? If you think there is no difference, then you can sit in the front. I shrugged indifferently and sat in the passenger seat. However, as soon as I sat down, a hard object hit my butt. When I picked it up, I saw it was a watch. When Lu Jingxian saw the watch, her expression was a little unnatural and she immediately started to explain to me. This should be Bowen's watch. He always forgets things. This watch shouldn't be cheap, don't forget to return it to the owner. I handed the watch to Lu Jingxian, and after she took it, she couldn't help but explain. Wenhao, actually there is really nothing between Bowen and me, you have to believe me. He and I are just normal superiors and subordinates. He often takes my car because it is necessary for work. Jingxian, you don't have to explain. This is not important to me. I interrupted Lu Jingxian before she finished speaking and shook my head at her. Lu Jingxian was stunned for a moment and looked at me in disbelief. Wenhao, what are you talking about? What I mean is, you don't have to explain to me what your relationship with Fu Bowen is. I really don't care now. Lu Jingxian's face turned pale in an instant and she opened her mouth to say something. But I didn't want to continue discussing this topic with her, so I turned my head and looked out the window. From that day on, Lu Jingxian seemed to have more time and would come to pick me up from get off work every day. I would put a signed divorce agreement on the table every day, but she would pretend not to see it every time. I'm not in a hurry about this and I won't push her. I knew that our divorce was a matter of time, but I was the one who brought it up first. I won't act as anxious as I did before because that will only make her think I'm just throwing a tantrum. On the weekend, I left home early to take the high-speed rail to the branch office to look at houses. However, as soon as I got off the high-speed train, I received a call from Lu Jingxian. Where are you, Wenhao? I'm working overtime, what's wrong? I lied subconsciously, but I didn't expect Lu Jingxian's voice to suddenly become aggrieved. I'm downstairs in your company right now, and there's no one in your company right now. I fell silent, but Lu Jingxian surprisingly did not hang up the phone. 6. Looking at the messages that kept coming from the real estate agent, I just made up an excuse to deal with it. I was sent out on a business trip. How could you see me at the company? That's it for now, I have to go meet a client. Without giving Lu Jingxian a chance to speak, I hung up the phone. In the past, Lu Jingxian often used this sentence to perfunctorily answer me. After hearing it so many times, I actually learned it. I looked at several houses in a row, but I always felt that some of them were not good enough and I couldn't decide on one. Fortunately, the two cities are not far away, so I can still come again next weekend. When I got home, Lu Jingxian was there too. Why didn't you tell me you were going on a business trip? You actually went to another city without telling me. I'm a grown man, and I'm only going on a business trip for a day. Do I have to report this to you? I looked at Lu Jingxian with a frown on her face and couldn't help laughing. I remember that before this, Lu Jingxian was on a business trip for a whole month because of work. I had no idea where she was, so I called her like crazy. However, the whole night passed and Lu Jingxian did not answer a single call. Just when I was about to call the police, she called me back. What's up? Jingxian, where have you been? I tried to contact you all night but you didn't respond. I was so worried. It's just a business trip. Even if we're married, you don't have to take care of everything, right? Do I need to report everything to you? After knowing that she was safe, I felt relieved but also a little angry. But Lu Jingxian didn't give me a chance to speak and quickly hung up the phone. Now the roles are reversed and she is actually concerned about me. I collected my thoughts and planned to go back to my room to rest, but she stopped me unexpectedly. However, before she could say anything, her cell phone on the table rang. I could clearly feel her hand tremble, and then she let go of my hand and answered the phone. Sister Jingxian, I have a fever. Could you please come and take me to the hospital? Fu Bowen's slightly weak voice echoed in the quiet room. Lu Jingxian was a little hesitant, her eyes kept wandering between me and her phone. I grinned and waved at her. They've asked you to help, so just go if you want to. After all, it's really uncomfortable when you have a fever. Wenhao, I'm sorry. When you were not feeling well before, Go quickly, they will be waiting anxiously. I didn't want to see Lu Jingxian hesitating like this, so I interrupted her before she finished speaking. She stared at me blankly and tried to reach out and grab my hand again, but I dodged her only once. Lu Jingxian's hand was suspended in mid-air for a long time before she withdrew it. After a long while, she spoke again. I'm going home for dinner tonight. I didn't respond. After watching her hurried out, I went back to my room to rest. When I woke up, it was already 7 o'clock. I cooked 2 servings of food as usual, but Lu Jingxian had not come back as usual. But this time I didn't wait for her like I did in the past, but ate my own portion directly. After cleaning up the dishes, I skillfully opened my moments, but to my surprise, I didn't see any updates from Fu Bowen this time. In the past, whenever he was with Lu Jingxian, there would be corresponding updates. Maybe he was really sick this time, so he is so quiet. I didn't wait for Lu Jingxian like I did before. After washing up, I went to bed and watched videos. I used to put my whole heart into her, so I was always worried about gains and losses. Now that I no longer pay attention to her, I feel unexpectedly relieved. This relaxed mood is even happier than the feeling Lu Jingxian gives me. The next day I went to work as usual. On the way I received message after message from Lu Jingxian, so much so that the notification tone never stopped. I was a little surprised because this was something I had done for her before. It seemed as if the roles between her and I had been reversed. 7. I just replied to a message and Lu Jingxian called me immediately. How? Actually I wanted to go back yesterday, but Bowen's condition was a little bit serious, so. I know, it's normal to have a fever and feel uncomfortable. I'm sorry, I clearly said I would go home for dinner last night. It's okay. I understand. That's it for now, I have to go to work. Seeing the taxi stop, I hung up the phone perfunctorily. It was not until almost the end of the workday that Lu Jingxian sent another message. There's a company party today, are you free? I couldn't believe it. There are parties in Lu Jingxian's company every now and then, but she has never invited me. We are all from our company. What are you doing here? At that time, I wanted to know about Lu Jingxian's life, so I begged her to take me with her. But in the end, all he got was this sentence and Lu Jingxian did not come back all night. I begged to attend the party before but couldn't do so. Now that Lu Jingxian has invited me, I am not interested anymore. Why would I go to your company's party? Besides, I have dinner with my colleagues tonight, so I won't disturb you. Which colleague are you having dinner with? A female colleague. He's the one who's in charge of the same project as me. Even if I told you, you wouldn't know him. After turning off my phone, I suddenly remembered that the scene just now seemed familiar. I remember that it was when Fu Bowen had just joined the company and Lu Jingxian's company was holding a team-building event. I called to ask her when she would be home. On the phone, I heard a man calling her name, so I asked her who she was with. Perhaps because she was annoyed by my questions, Lu Jingxian couldn't help but scold me over the phone. He's just a new employee in the company. You don't even know him. Why do you care so much? I am the boss of a company after all. Is it weird that someone would call me that? All you do is text and make phone calls all day long. I'm fed up with it even if you don't find it annoying. I could even hear her explanation to Fu Bowen just before she hung up the phone. Salesmanship is annoying all day long. Now, Lu Jingxian asked me the same question I once said to her, and I gave her the same answer I gave her back then. Suddenly, I lost my patience with her. There are both men and women. If you have nothing else to do, let's just leave it like this. They are all waiting for me. Then drink less. I'll pick you up later. Lu Jingxian was silent for a while, and finally a voice message popped up to me. Her voice was so soft and gentle, I can't remember how long ago she said this to me. 8. Today's party was not groundless, but was specially organized by my colleagues to celebrate my promotion. At the party, everyone was very happy and gave me their sincere blessings, and I inevitably drank a few more glasses. However, just as I was leaving the private room to take a breath, a familiar figure came into my sight. Is it Lu Jingxian? Is their company's party also here? Before I could hide, Lu Jingxian saw me and came towards me. She looked a little surprised and a little happy. How? Didn't you say you had an appointment? Are you here to see me now? How? Who is this? Are they here to celebrate your promotion as well? Before I could say anything, my colleagues came out of the private room and tried to take me back. Looking at Lu Jingxian with eyes full of expectation, I said nothing and let my colleagues pull me back to the private room. It's just a friend, we just happened to meet here. We're getting divorced soon anyway, so there's no need for me to explain so much because of Lu Jingxian. But when I entered the door, I subconsciously looked back. Lu Jingxian looked disappointed. Was she expecting me to introduce her to my colleagues? However, this thought only appeared in my mind for a moment, and the warm atmosphere in the private room quickly suppressed it. Since it was just a small gathering of colleagues, it ended quickly. I sent a message to Lu Jingxian. I'm done here, how about you? Wenhao, wait for me for a moment. I will be able to get away soon. Then I'll just go back on my own. A colleague of mine happens to be on his way, so you can have fun. I have heard Lu Jingxian's words countless times. This time I don't want to believe her anymore, and I don't want to wait alone. Sitting in my colleague's car, I looked at my phone with messages popping up continuously, so I simply turned it to silent mode. When I got home, I took out the divorce agreement and put it on the table again. But this time I didn't let Lu Jingxian ignore me. Instead, I sat on the chair and waited for her to come back. When Lu Jingxian came in, she saw me waiting for her as usual, and a smile appeared on her face. However, after seeing the divorce agreement in my hand, the smile that had just appeared disappeared instantly. So many days have passed. I think you should know that I am not kidding you this time. Let's sign it today while we are all here. Are we really going to have to go this far? Is there really no room for easing the tension? Lu Jingxian came closer with a wry smile, and even her voice was a little bitter. I didn't say anything, just looked at her quietly. Suddenly, Lu Jingxian quickened her pace and hugged me. Wenhao, I don't want to divorce you, please don't do this, okay? Don't you hate seeing me contacting Fu Bowen? I can delete him right now. Can we not get divorced? That's impossible. You knew what you were doing all along, but it's not like I didn't give you a chance. You knew it would break my heart, but you did it anyway. Now my love for you has been consumed by you. Besides, we have come to this point not only because of him, but also because of many problems between us. I pushed Lu Jingxian away helplessly and handed the divorce agreement to her. I could see her hand tremble when it touched the divorce agreement, but soon Lu Jingxian tore the agreement into pieces in her hand like a madman. As if she was still not satisfied, she threw the debris in her hand to the ground and stepped on it. I won't divorce, Wenhao, we can't divorce. I promise I won't contact him tomorrow, and I promise I will treat you well in the future. Let's not get divorced, okay? I just stood by and watched Lu Jingxian, letting her vent her emotions. I used to be as hysterical as her, but all I got in return was Lu Jingxian's cold shoulder. Now that the roles have been reversed, I seem to understand her actions a little bit. When facing someone you no longer love, no matter what she does, it is impossible to cause your emotional fluctuations. Jingxian, agree. In fact, you know very well that if we continue to live like this, no one will feel good. Besides, I have accepted the company's transfer order and will be moving to another city in a few days. Another city? Which one? I have business somewhere else, can I go over there and accompany you? Lu Jingxian stopped stepping and looked at me in disbelief, with a hint of helplessness in her eyes. I looked at her and shook my head slightly. Jingxian, it's impossible for us to get divorced. 9. Lu Jingxian knew my determination and did not drag it out any further. She went with me to get a divorce the next day. It was done, and I came to the next city as I wished. However, on my first day at work, I actually saw Lu Jingxian at the company gate. She leaned on the car, staring at me intently, and I nodded to her as a greeting. In the next few days, Lu Jingxian would always appear at the company gate on her way to and from get off work, as if just to see me. The colleague next to him couldn't help gossiping, Wenhao, your girlfriend. I shook my head and said nothing, and my eyes unconsciously moved away from Lu Jingxian. I had just returned home and hadn't even had time to change my shoes when Lu Jingxian called me. Wenhao, have you eaten yet? How about going out for a meal together? How do you know I haven't eaten? You always started cooking at 7 o'clock before, so you must not have eaten yet. There was a hint of pride in Lu Jingxian's tone, as if she had grasped my habit. I couldn't help but laugh. He ignored me at first, but now after the divorce, he is paying attention to me. I'm already cooking, you should find a place to eat by yourself. But I'm not familiar with this place, and I don't know where to eat good food. Can I? No, if you just want to invite me to dinner, I don't think there's any need for us to continue chatting. Lu Jingxian on the other end of the phone fell silent. I was too lazy to listen to her follow up and simply hung up the phone. While I was cooking, my cell phone rang twice, but I didn't take it seriously and forgot about it afterwards. It wasn't until the next morning that I noticed the message from Lu Jingxian. Wen Hao, I feel a little feverish. Can you come down and take me to the hospital? I'm just downstairs from your house. I feel so uncomfortable and dizzy. Are you asleep? Why don't you reply to the message? I messaged her back before going to work. You're not young anymore. If you feel unwell, just buy some medicine or go to the hospital for an 4 drip. After replying, I devote myself to the day's work. As the workday was about to end, a colleague came over to me gossiping. Wen Hao, why didn't I see the beautiful lady who usually waits for you at work today? Did you have a conflict with her? It was not until then that I noticed that Lu Jingxian had not bombarded me with messages all day, and had not shown up at the company gate during work hours. I think she finally couldn't hold on any longer. If Fu Bowen hadn't called me later, I would have thought that Lu Jingxian had given up. Brother Wen Hao, sister Jingxian was in a car accident. Why don't you go take care of her? It's not far from where you work. She's not a child. If she's inconvenient, can't she hire a caregiver? I'm not her babysitter. If you're willing to be a babysitter, you can come over. Fu Bowen on the other end of the phone fell silent. I sneered and hung up the phone. If it were in the past, after knowing that Lu Jingxian had been in a car accident, I would have rushed over to take care of her without even anyone reminding me. Even if it's just a minor cold, I would call and send messages to remind Lu Jingxian to remember to take medicine and rest. But at that time she was very annoyed with me. I'm not a child. Don't I know my own situation? Do I need you to stick to me every day to remind me? Don't bother me anymore. I'm very busy and don't have time to waste on these trivial matters with you. Just as I hung up the phone with Fu Bowen, Lu Jingxian called me. Her voice was a little weak, and even had a hint of pleading in it. Wen Hao, can you come over and see me? We're divorced, and I still have a job. I believe you can handle it yourself. Then can you come and accompany me for a while as a friend? Forget it. I don't think we can continue to be friends after the divorce. Lu Jingxian fell silent, and I didn't want to continue arguing with her, so I just hung up the phone. A few days later, Lu Jingxian appeared downstairs of my house again, with gauze wrapped around her hand. She seemed to have been waiting for a long time, and as soon as she saw me, she trotted towards me. Wen Hao, would it be convenient for you to have dinner with me today? Jingxian, I think I expressed myself clearly, so you don't have to be like this. I stood there and looked at her calmly. Lu Jingxian seemed a little anxious and reached out to grab me, but I dodged her again. She silently withdrew her hand that was hanging in the air, and I could even see her eyes dim. Wen Hao, today is our 5th wedding anniversary, have you forgotten? I thought about it and it was indeed a little fuzzy. If it were in the past, I would remember all the holidays related to Lu Jingxian clearly without any omissions. Maybe I have been too busy recently, or maybe I have chosen to forget about her, so I can't remember her. We are divorced now, does this festival still have meaning? Yes, just think of it as you playing with me, just this once, okay? Please. At this moment, Lu Jingxian's tone was almost pleading, and her eyes were full of expectation as she looked at me. I have an appointment with a colleague today. I'll go upstairs and change my clothes. Wen Hao, am I no longer as important as your colleague in your eyes? Jingxian, I have a new life now, and I don't think you need to dwell on the past. I felt a little helpless and didn't know what to say for a moment. Lu Jingxian suddenly came forward and hugged me with such force that I couldn't break free for a while. Wen Hao, please forgive me. I have already fired Fu Bowen, and I will have no contact with him in the future. For the sake of our relationship over the years, please forgive me. Jingxian, haven't you realized yet? The fact that we have come to this point is not entirely because of him. Even if he's not here, there will be others, right? I really don't care what you are like now. I looked at Lu Jingxian and smiled faintly. She was stunned for a moment, then loosened her hands that were tightly wrapped around me. She stared at me, trying to see hope in me. After a while, tears welled up in her eyes and she lowered her head. I know she saw it clearly, she knew I was not angry, and she could never save this relationship. Jingxian, goodbye. I said goodbye to her and went upstairs.